Watch how I make an amazing bronze chess piece from scratch and turned it on the lathe throughout the entire process. This is a really interesting video, so make sure you watch right till the end. Okay, so the first step for me was to mark out the lines that I'm going to be indenting on the bishop, and then I would start to surface the piece on the lathe. This lathe was actually really awful, and the piece was moving about a lot inside the lathe, so I had quite a bit of trouble trying to keep it stable. But then as soon as I switched lathes, it was much easier. So I began surfacing it, and I started turning it, getting ready to make the indentations or the grooves on the chess piece. I'm just getting rid of the oxidized layer on top of it, and then it will just look a lot nicer. So now I have gotten rid of all the oxidized layer on the top and the sides. I finished surfacing it and I've finished facing it. Now I can start making the grooves in it. I have already done the ones closer to the bottom, and I am just surfacing the rest of it to make the top a little bit thinner. Then I'm getting ready to do the rest of the grooves and the indentations on the side of the bishop, so that it can start resembling the general standard bishop shape. Majority of this process was just shaping, sanding, turning, surfacing. It was very repetitive, but it was a lot more difficult in person because it was a lot more precise than what it looks like on there, especially that little ball point which I'm making right now. I had to make a small cylinder at the top of the bishop and then make it round, and then I'd have to file and sand it around so that it would have that little crown ball bit on the top of the bishop. Now that I've done that, I'm just sanding everything down, making sure that it's gotten a nice finish, getting rid of all the streaks that the surfacing tool makes and the file. And I'm just increasing in grit until it reaches a really high finish, preferably 10,000 grit sandpaper. And I'm starting at 240 grit sandpaper after shaping it fully. So I finished all the rougher stuff. Now, as you can see, it's really shiny. That's up to about 7,000, and there's a little bit in the lid that I wasn't able to do. So I had to wrap it in tissue so that the chucks of the jaw doesn't actually mess it up. And then I would just sand the bottom part, and then it would have the same polish as the other side. I got that up to 10,000 grit sandpaper, by the way. Now I am just cutting out the mitre on top of the bishop to give it its standard characteristic, which is that little cut on the top. And I just sanded that again to get rid of any scratch marks, and I began to polish it on the polishing wheel. There was a little bit too much polish on the wheel there, so I just got rid of it with a bit of aluminium. And here it is. That looks absolutely stunning.